So using this solid 80-inch by 32-inch slab, I'm simply marking 40 inches from each end just to make sure I have a centered line, as that would be dead center. Now using my drywall square, I'm just connecting my two marks, making sure it's nice and square. And I can put my track right on the line, and I'm going to use the drywall square to make sure my track is square. Now I'm going to cut it down the middle with a track saw, and being on the centipede, I don't have to worry about it falling. Make sure you get the hinges with the 5/8 inch radius. And these squeak-free door hinges aren't everything they seem to be. So right here you can see I'm marking 4 inches. I do this from each end of the door, and I put my door hinge jig on there, and I tighten it up nice and tight. And using my palm router, I simply route out the area for the hinge. Using this jig makes it real easy, and you don't even have to worry about measuring. Everything's all nice and lined up for you. The hinge jig also comes with a center hole drill bit, so you can simply take it to pre-drill your holes for your screws. And you could also see here that the hinge does fit in perfectly. And now I'm just tightening the screws. So this is where it gets fun. I already measured a line 4 1/8 inch from the top, and I'm putting the top of the hinge on that line, and I'm simply drilling it right into the frame of the door opening here. Before I even put the bottom hinge in, I put the top one together. Once that is in, I just hold the bottom of the door and I line up the hinge to the end of the frame and screw in the hinge. You can see I did not route out a spot for the hinge. I basically have an opening pretty wide here, so I have a lot of room to play with. It also makes it easier to install it by yourself. Okay, let's see if she fits. There we go. There is a little bit of a gap, but I expected that. Right now I'm just using a ripped 2x4 as the bottom plate, as my opening is a little more than 40 inches. I just screwed that right into the floor. Now I'm measuring for the door trim molding, which you could see right to my right here. I simply just cut it with a handsaw. Now I measured 1 and a heavy 3/4 inch on my square, and I use that as my spacing for how far I put the door molding in, being that the door is 1 3/4 inches thick, and I'm also factoring the fact I'm going to be putting weather stripping on. As you can see, this goes right to the rafters, where there is a big difference in heat and cool during the months where it gets hot and the months where it gets cold. And I simply just tack in the door molding with 18 gauge finish nails. I do the top first, I do the right, and when I do the side where the hinge is on, I'm only going to put the top in. I'm only going to tack the top in. The reason is I can't fit my combination square because of the door, so I put the bottom in, And then once I get the bottom, I can use the combination square to find out the spacing, and then use the spacing for the door molding on the side where the door hinge is. Okay, let's check to see if this fits right. And it does. Now I'm just going to put the door molding on. Excuse me, the weather stripping. It's just a simple weather stripping for 17 feet. It was $9.99, which got me more than I needed for each door. Now I'm putting the doorknob jig on. This is just a jig by DeWalt that you can buy at Lowe's. I believe you can buy it at Home Depot too. It also comes with the bit. You could see here, I had to change to put a mask on due to all that dust. But before I go all the way through with the drill bit, I am going to go to the other side once the actual drill bit itself comes through. You can see I'm checking to make sure when it comes through. And the reason I do this is to pretend tear out for literally a split second. I drill a hole into the back to prevent tear out. You can see here I'm going to punch right through. Then I make the spot where the part of the door that locks comes through. Now I simply attach the doorknob. I got these discrete doorknobs that are flat because a lot of times we put furniture up against this wall and the doorknob would get in the way. Once those are on, I mark the center of where the doorknob's going to hit, or I should say the lock. And I drill a 1-inch hole partially in there with a paddle bit. I then put in the strike plate. Make sure it locks, and you can see here I'm grabbing the lock. You could turn it left or right to open it. It doesn't matter. And it's closed, it's nice and tight, and hopefully helps with the heat loss. Hope this video helps. Thank you.